Have you ever done something with the hope that it would lead to something so much greater than you imagine? Like coming to an event like this because you want to connect with people and ideas. Or volunteering for a nonprofit that you really believe in because you want to be with people who share your passion and who are like-minded. Well, let me share with you a story about a young man who crossed the street one day with that same hope for something greater. This is Marquez. At age 17, Marquez was incarcerated, and at age 18, he found himself working in a dead-end job in a construction site in King County. And as he looked across the street from him, he saw that there were a lot of young adults who looked just like him, except they were dressed in suits and ties, and they were walking into this building. And Marquez didn't know what was going on, but one day he mustered up the courage, and he followed them across the street, not knowing who was going to be on the other side to meet him. And we'll get back to Marquez in just a moment. This is my son, Benjamin. He wasn't supposed to be born. We were told, my husband and I, we tried for years and years, and we tried everything, and nothing worked. And then one day, miraculously, obviously, something worked. And after this most precious person in my life was born, it made me realize that he was going to be here on this earth long after I was gone, and that there was going to come a day when I could not protect him and I couldn't guide him anymore. And that made me think, what kind of a world am I leaving behind for this child? And more importantly, what kind of a world would I be proud to leave behind for him and his generation? So that made me think, what does it take to make this kind of change? What does it take to make great change? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it takes three things. The first thing that it takes is awareness, because we as a society have to have an understanding of what our current status quo is, of what's happening all around us. And the second thing that it requires is belief, because you've got to believe that you can change things from what you currently see to what you wish to see. And the third thing it takes is action, because you've got to do something or nothing will ever change. So, I grew up in a generation that assumed opportunity. I always believed that I could achieve more than my parents did. I completely believed that I could be anything and do anything that I wanted. And that's the same thing that I want for today's young people. Yet there is a significant group of young people today who aren't going to have that chance to do better than their parents, because today it's harder than ever to move out of the social class that you were born in. It's harder than ever to achieve the American dream. And there's a substantial number of young people who are not being set up to succeed. So who are these young people? Well, these are young folks who live along the bus lines. They make less than $10,000 a year. And in the Puget Sound alone, there's over 15,000 young adults, no job, no school. That's about half the undergraduate population of the University of Washington. And nationwide, that's almost 7 million young adults between the ages of 16 and 24, no school and no jobs. Yet on the other hand, we have employers. Microsoft alone in this area is going to hire over 8,000 technology workers over the next few years. And the Gates Foundation predicts that there will be 14 million technology jobs coming online in the same time period. So on the one hand, 7 million young people, no school, no jobs. On the other hand, 14 million technology jobs looking for people to fill them. And between the two is the opportunity gap. That's the divide between those who have very few choices in life to move forward and the employers who are looking for those people, who are looking for talent to power this economy. Now, over the past few years, this gap has been growing, and I don't think that's the kind of society that we want to leave behind for anyone at all. But we don't have to, because so many of these young people are talented and motivated and smart. They want to be standing next to you in the morning when you get your cup of coffee, and they want to be sitting in the seats that you're sitting in right now. They want the same thing that everyone wants. They want a better world than the one that they've grown up in. So how do we as a community find them? Well, that starts with you. Ask yourself, what does talent look like? Does it look like this? Or does it look like you? Or the person sitting next to you? Does it look like Marquez? Because most people don't think that talent looks like an urban young adult. So I'm asking you, to shift your perception of what talent could be. And the next time you're walking by that construction site and you see a young man standing there, don't ask yourself, why is he here? Ask yourself, who could he be? What could he achieve? Because when you shift that perception, that young person could be so much more than you think. So much more than you think. So let's get back to Marquez. Right now, well, when he crossed the street that day, he walked into a technology training program that expected him to show up on time. They taught him how to dress and speak professionally. They taught him all about computer hardware and software. They taught him about networking. They taught him how to fix all things computers. They also taught Marquez how to do a personal elevator pitch, how to brand himself and tell his own story. But the most important thing that Marquez learned in that program was self-respect, because no one had ever expected so much of him in his life. And when Marquez saw that not only could he meet those expectations, he could exceed them, he started to believe in himself. And when that started, he started to share that sense of belief with everyone around him. And so now today, Marquez is making over $30,000 a year at PopCap Games in a technology position. He's on his way because on that day that he walked across the street, there was someone waiting to meet him on the other side. So I'm asking you to believe and to act on that belief that change is possible, and to share that sense of possibility with the young people that you see around you, because when you do that, that's when the desire to change starts to take place, and you become part of that possibility that you're creating. This is Jarvis. At age 23, Jarvis had grown up in a non-traditional household. He'd been in and out of many schools in many different states. He was working downtown in a retail establishment, and one of his customers was so impressed with Jarvis's thoughtfulness, his thoroughness, his sense of customer service, that the man said to Jarvis, "Jarvis, you could do so much more than what you're doing now, and I think I have an idea of how you can do that." So this man introduced Jarvis to this training program. And Jarvis, after 6 months of hard work, earned an internship with a Fortune 500 company. And they were so impressed with his showing up on time, his business skills, his technology skills, that they hired him right out of his internship. And now Jarvis is making over $40,000 a year. He's got his first car, he's bought his first apartment, he's thinking about investing in the stock market. He took the advice of a stranger. And that advice cost him his retail job, but it brought him closer to his dreams. Now, there are thousands of young people across the United States who are breaking the cycle of poverty and achieving living wage careers. Jarvis and Marquez are just examples of what's possible, because thousands more can do it too when people take the steps to bridge them to meaningful opportunities. And that starts with you. So I'm asking you to share that sense of belief, and to mentor young people, to get involved in their lives. And the next time that you're standing in line for your morning coffee, and that barista has your order ready, and it's perfect, and she's greeted you by name before you even get up to pay, remember Jarvis and Marquez. Tell that barista that she can be so much more than she's ever imagined. Be the one to meet her when she crosses the street. Thank you.